Yo, MRD.
Welcome to another Synfig tutorial. And yeah, I know it's been a while. I've been very busy. But I'm back today and we will be taking a look at animating text. So recently I did an ad for breast cancer awareness. And this is the ad right here. I'll be posting this on my Patreon page. So if you want to see the ad in full, you can go and take a look at it there. But there's a bit in here that I'm going to show you how to do, and it is this section right here. So we'll be doing that. I've already done it in Synfig, so you can see. Let me just play it. Right, so this is what we'll be creating, and we'll be using the exact text. Right, it's very simple to do. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that you need is your text. And the text I will be using is Synfig Studio open source 2D animation software. So let's go ahead and type Synfig Studio. Click OK. And let's select our font. For my font, I'm going to use Impact. So I'm going to type Impact, because I like impact, and I'm going to scale this up. So I'm going to go to size and I'm going to scale this up maybe by 35, and I'm going to move this and put it somewhere in the center like so. I mean, it doesn't have to be in the exact center, but yeah, so I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm going to put this in a folder, because we know Synfig has an issue of if it's not in a folder, then it will look blurry as you add more and more text. So I'm going to change this to the same name as the text. So Synfig Studio. All right, so now we have our text. So let's get to animating. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this keyframe here. I hate that keyframe. All right, so we need to add let me right click, new layer, distortion. So we need to add the warp distortion, and I'm just going to turn on the grid here. I'm also going to turn on the snap tool here, and what we want to do, we want to enclose this one with the dotted lines around the text. So I'm just going to go ahead and just move it all the way out. I'm going to bring it closer to the text as well, like so. Don't worry about what's going on here. And then we'll move these and put it on the inside, like so. And because we have the snap on, it's snapping onto the different points. And actually, I'm going to move this a bit down, like so. Move this down, move this up, move this up. And I think I'm going to bring this out some more, like so. And then move this out more, like so. Okay, so I'm okay with, well, let me see if I can move this down like this. Nah, I'm going to bring it back here. All right, so this is what we have. So we are ready to animate. So I'm going to turn on the animate button, and I'm going to come somewhere down my timeline. Doesn't matter which frame you come. Just make sure that you are not on the first frame. So I'm going to come somewhere here, and I am going to set keyframes for my bounded box here. So I'm just going to select these two, just move them a bit. So I'm going to press the left arrow key to get those keyframes, and then bring it back into position by pressing the right arrow key. Let me select them again, press right arrow key, and I'm going to do the same thing here. So left arrow key, select them again, right arrow key. So I'm just doing this so we can add keyframes to each of them. Let me go back here, and so this is where our animation will start taking place. So as we can see in the video here, it starts out from a perspective of it laying flat on the ground, and then it comes up. So let's go ahead and do that, shall we? one thing that we need to keep in mind is where the text is sitting on the ground. So I like to left click within the ruler section here and just drag a line out and put it directly under the text here, so we can see where the text is sitting. And then let me undo that. Then I'm going to select this point and just mess with the perspective. So we want it to look flat. So I'm gonna, and again, notice it's snapping onto the lines here because we have the snap feature on. And you can go as flat as you want. I think I'm gonna maybe go a bit up here. So when you get to this stage, you will have to decide how flat do you want to make it on the ground. And yeah, I think I'm gonna go back here because I like the way that looks. Okay, but notice if we move forward, it looks like it's lifting up rather than rising off the ground, and that's because this part, it's not where the line is, where the ground line is, right, which is here. So let me just select these, move them a bit and then move them back just so I can add those keyframes like so. And then I'm going to move it up above the line. So I'm going to select all of these, just use my arrow key and move it up like so, right above the line. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like now. And we can see it is starting to look a bit better. Right, and the more time you spend on this is the better it will look. Right, but I think I like it that way. Well, maybe I'm gonna just move this out a bit like so, and then move this out a bit, and then take a look at that again. Okay, well, I'm gonna undo that. Don't like the way that looks. So we'll leave it at this. We have the animation going of it coming off the ground. Now we need to bring it forward because it basically rises up off the ground and then flips over onto itself. We want to have the text stay up for a bit so that, you know, when watching it, you can see what the text is saying, and then before it comes out off the screen. So I'm just going to duplicate these frames like so. Just hold down Shift and left click and drag them over. And how long you want the text to stay on screen is dependent upon you. So I think I'm going to move this over to, well, I'm going to move it over a bit like so. And then I'm going to have it come over. So I'm going to move these 2 points forward like so. And you have to keep the perspective in mind. So if it's coming forward, you'll have these points going outward while these points at the back are going backwards. I'm gonna move this up and just take a look at how it looks. And of course, we'll have to move it. Let me select each point by holding down Shift, and we'll have to move it to our ground line here. And then let's take a look at how that looks. Okay, so it goes down. Is that looking okay? All right, I think I want this to come out a bit more like so. We may go back, but let me see how that looks first. Okay, so when it goes there, it seems to disappear. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to bring it down a bit. So yeah, this is where you start just playing around with it to see how it looks and what and if you'll be able to decide whether you're going to keep the way it looks or not, and then you make alterations. All right, I think I'm going to move this up a bit by selecting these, moving it up of the line like so. Let's take a look. Okay, so I think I'm okay with this. It's not perfect, but by now I think you get the idea. Okay, and I think I'm gonna actually come back here and just move this points out a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move it over by 4 steps. I think it takes too long to come down, so I'm going to move this over a bit like so. And let me press my preview button here, my render preview. Let me play this back. Okay, so that is looking fine to me. And what we're going to do now is alter the opacity. So I'm going to go on the folder for this. So when it's on the ground here, I want the opacity to be at 0. And then I'm going to move over maybe like 2 frames down and then increase the opacity to 1. So we'll come up, and as it's coming up, it's, well, we're able to see it. Let me see if I want to move that over a bit, like so. Render. Okay, so I think I'm liking the way that looks. And I'm just going to duplicate this keyframe here because we know that this opacity is set at 1, so we'll continue to see it until maybe the end here. And I'm just going to hold down Shift here, left click on this keyframe, drag it over to duplicate that one, so then it disappears as it's coming down. Okay, make sure to preview the animation to see how it looks. You can even go to render preview here to make sure that you're viewing it in real time. So I think I'm gonna move this over a bit like so, and then test it out again to see how it looks. Do I like that? Maybe not. Let me move this over a bit and see. So don't stop until you get it exactly how you would like. Okay, I'm not liking that, so I'm gonna move this back here and move this back there. I think I'm gonna settle for this one here. So let me play. All right, so we work with this, right? All right, so once you have one, the beauty of this is that you can just duplicate and add the rest of the text. So I'm going to click on the folder here, Control C, Control V, and I'm going to hide this one. I'm going to rename the folder to the next text, which is open source. So I'm going to type open source. And make sure that you change the text on the inside as well. So change this to open source. Click OK. And you will, of course, have to change the label, the name of the layer here. Well, you don't have to change it, but I like to stay organized. So I'm going to change it to open source as well. So now we have that one, and I'm going to duplicate this one, hide this one, and I'm going to change this to, let's see, so it's Synfig Studio Open Source 2D Animation. So this one is going to be called 2D Animation. I'm going to open up my folder here. I'm going to rename this one to 2D Animation. And let me just select this and copy it, and we'll just paste it inside here to make our lives easier. So we have 2D animation, and we're going to duplicate this one again, hide the previous one. And so this one is 2D animation software. So this one is software. And I'm going to change this name, software. And so you can already see how easy this is to do. And the last one will be the website. So I'm going to just call this website, and website. But of course, for the text itself, we're going to put the actual website. So that's www.synfig.org. Okay, and you might notice that depending on the size of your text, it will be cut off a bit, and we can adjust that. So Let's go to the warp here, and because we have keyframe on, we'll have to change it for each of these frames here. All right, so I'm going to come to this one, and I'm just going to turn back on animate, select both of these, and I'm going to move them over 1, 2. Well, actually, let me undo that and let us move this one. So I'm just going to move this over like so. I'm going to move this over like so. And there we can see our text in full view. And I don't want to add a keyframe to this, so I'm going to remove this. So we should, so I turned on animate, but we didn't need to turn it on. So yeah, so there we can see all our text. All right, so let's set this up now, shall we? So you'll have to decide where you want the second text to come in. So for me, I think I'm going to have it come in right here, where the beginning of the text, when it's going to fade out. So like right here. So I'm going to go on the second one here, turn this on, and I'm going to hold down Control and select all of my frames here, move them over. I'm going to make sure that the first one is in line with this keyframe here. I'm going to select all of these using Control as well and move them over like so. All right, so if we should play this, we can see that as that one is going out, the next one is coming up. All right, so I'm just going to do the same for the rest of these. I'm going to come to the second to last opacity keyframe here, turn on this layer there, and I'm going to just select all of these. By the way, in 1.5, we already know that you can select all of the keyframes at once and move them, but I'm still using 1.4, so that's why we'll have to select the keyframes as I'm doing them now. So yeah, all I'm doing is going to the second to last keyframe of the opacity keyframes and just moving my keyframes down. If I'm going too far, you can always, stop the video or rewind it to see what I'm doing. I'm gonna move this over like so. And the final one now, which is the website, I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna go on this, and then let's move this down. Of course, our timeline is too short, so, well, no, we actually do have space. All right, so that's good. Let me move this down like so. And let me just select these and move them over like so. Okay, so everything is set up. You might want to save, right? Always make sure to save. So I'm just going to save this real quick. Like so. And for the last one, which is the website, when it comes up, the way I did it here, I didn't have it flip over. I just had it come forward. You can decide whether you want to do that or leave it this way. But I'm going to, so when it comes up here, it's going to stay for a while and then it's going to scale. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to remove these keyframes off of here. So, and make sure that you're selecting the right layer, by the way. And I'm going to go to turn on my animate button here, select scale, and just move it up a bit and then move it down to add that keyframe. And then I'm going to move this down to the end. And then I'm going to scale this up. So the reason why I'm scaling up is that it will appear to be moving forward when it's scaling up. And I'm going to move these over. Right, so it takes a while when it's scaling. When it's coming forward, it will take a while. Oh, and we'll have to, I'm going to move the opacity keyframes down. Okay, that was the wrong keyframe. Let me move up. So these are the opacity keyframes. Let me move those down so we can still see it on screen while it's moving forward before it goes out. Okay. All right, and I'm going to end the timeline at frame 96. So I'm just going to come here, type 96, press enter, and make sure to save again. I'm going to go to my preview button here. Our preview is done. Let us take a look. So I'm going to turn on the loop button here and just press spacebar to play. And that is looking really good. And notice that the website itself, it stops for a while before it comes forward. You can just move the keyframes down, so as it comes up, it will just move forward as it's coming up, right? So it's a bit of just manipulating the keyframes. And in the one that I showed you, we can see that, you know, it has different colors in this one. So all I did was just to go on every other text and just change the color of that text. Just make sure that you have the animate button turned off, unless you want to animate the colors coming on. So yeah, that's how easy this is. And yeah, so if you want to see the full advert, which was basically a kinetic type advert that I did, you can head over to my Patreon page and view it there. It has music as well, so the text is actually moving to the music, but of course that is copyrighted music. I did not create that music, so I can't play it here. So yeah, that's the end of this tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next video.
Yo, Kemardi.